going on, guys, and welcome back to the Bought to Build YouTube channel. So today we're going to start working on the GTO finally. I showed you guys in the last video the new GTO that we picked up. So today we're going to take the first steps and starting to get the yellow one back together. We've got the seats flipped up here. First thing I think we're going to do is start taking the rear seats out and apart. We've got to be able to get to those seat belts, front and rear. We're also going to want to take out this headliner and start getting everything cleaned up in the yellow car and swapped over. So let's go ahead and get some tools out and get started on that. So we're going to start by, we already got one of these bolts out. We're going to take this one out the rest of the way. And then there's a couple bolts behind the seat that we also got to take out. We're starting by taking out the passenger seat here so that we can get to everything else a lot easier. And we're going to leave the driver's seat in it for now so that I can still move this thing around until we are ready to pull the engine and trans out. But we're going to fold this thing up best we can so that when we get these last two bolts back here out, that it'll come right out of the doorway a lot easier. I think there's one, yep, one under there. And then you got to pop this guy up. I might need a screwdriver for that, but you got to pop that one out, and then there'll be a bolt there too. So let's go ahead and get these guys out and get the seat out of the way. So next, we're gonna try getting these seat belts out of here. Start with the front ones here. It's just got this little cap you pop off like that. And then you got a bolt here, and then up here we're gonna have to take this little cap off, and there's a bolt in there, and then we will work our way down that trim piece. Alright guys, so to try to get the top seatbelt part out, first thing you got to do is get these little caps out of the way, like that. And then I don't know if you can see in there, but there's a Phillips screwdriver, or a Phillips screw I mean, and we got to get that out on both sides. And then we can start taking this panel off, and then this panel off. And then I think what we'll do is take this headliner out, so we're going to have to take these out too. I'll show you that when we get there. And then we'll decide as we go. Alright guys, so there's another bolt down in here that you can't get to, and I think we have to take this panel off to do it, which these rear seats have to come out anyways. So we're going to go ahead and start taking the rear seats out now. I'm pretty sure that I've never taken them out, but I think you can lift up, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little tab right here that we just pull on, and that comes right up. So we're going to do that on both sides. And then when I get the seat out of here, I'll check back with you guys and I'll show you how to get these panels off. Alright guys, so we got the bottom cushions out. Now, there's a bolt down there. And then there's one same on the other side right under that cushion, or that insulation stuff. We're going to take these seat belts out and get the buckle parts out here. And then hopefully we're going to be able to start getting these panels off so that we can get to the front seat belts and then the headliner. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright guys, so we got to get this kick panel down here off so that we can get to the bolts that are back there. So we're just going to take a little screwdriver and lift up here and just work our way right down it carefully. Super cold out here, so you want to try the best you can not to crack them. That comes off, and then you got 4 bolts down here. On this side we got to take the trim piece that's around the seat because we left this seat in, so we're going to take that out of the way quick so that one can come out, and then this is ready to lift up. So now all we got to do is get back in there and get a couple more bolts, and we'll be ready to get at the seat bracket, or the seat belt brackets. Alright guys, so now we got to go ahead and take this screw out, and there's one on the other side. They're just little Torx screws. And then as you've seen, we already got the torque screws out from back here. Now we're just gonna check and see if there's any more in here that we might have missed. Nope. Might be one up here still. Nope. Now this whole panel comes out of here. Just like that. And now we should be able to get to the seat bracket, or seat belt brackets that we needed. Alright guys, so we've gotten all the door panels off, and the rear like quarter panel panels here. And we've basically gotten to our seat belts. We're gonna go ahead and take this panel off so that we can get to the top mount easier. And then we got to take a bunch of this upper stuff off to get the headliner out anyways. So there's a couple screws down here. There's one on this side, and then there's one right here on this side. So we're going to go ahead and take these out. One's broken on this car. Yeah, one of the plastic tabs is broken. So now we can get to this part, and we're just gonna have to take this bolt off here and then one down there and see if this mechanism is in our other car and go from there. All right guys, so we're gonna try to take the seat belt out. We got a bolt down here, a couple bolts here, and then a couple Torx bits up here. So we're just gonna start down here. I put tape on these because sometimes when they come out you can't get them to free up again, so I just use some tape to hold it. One. Some of those have like retainers on them so the bolt doesn't come all the way out. Like I said guys, it's got a small retainer on that one. The other one didn't for whatever reason, but and then this thing you can just lift up and cock it a little bit and it'll slide right out. Alright guys, so for the back seat belt, we've got a bolt down here, and then we've got one that's kind of hidden up under here. So we're going to go ahead and take the lower one out first. It's got like a little washer on it, so save that. Go for this one. And then we can come up here, like that, and that comes out. And then you got one more right here. And this one, you've got a spacer behind it. I don't know if you guys can see it right here, but you want to make sure that when you take this out, that you save the little spacer, that you can put it back on that side. And now that one's out. So I don't think I showed you guys when I took this thing out here. So I'm just gonna give you the quick rundown on how it comes in and out. It's got a little bit of glue along the back edge, which once you get all the bolts and the little push clips out, you got to give it a good little tug for the glue to break free. At least I think it's glue. It might have just been from being in there so long it was a little stuck. But so what you got here are a couple of these little plastic push pins. You've got one that goes right here, one that goes right here, and then one that goes right here. And then you've got a couple little 8mm screws that are also Phillips that hold this guy in right here. It's your trunk release. And then you've got one of these guys. Now don't forget about this guy. It's the little plastic Phillips style screw-in clip. And you've got one of those right there. I didn't know about that one at first, so it was fighting me a little bit. But once you know that one's there, you just reach in there and unscrew it, and they all come out. and it's nice and easy. And then once you get that thing mounted back up, you've got the third brake light, this guy right here, a little LED board, and there's a plug in the back here, typical little push to unlock plug. It plugs in right to that guy. And once you get everything said and done, this guy just sits in there and it clips down and locks in, and that's it. There's no screws or anything like that that holds this on. You just got to be careful, and when you take it out and try to pry it and pop it up, I used one of these, the upholstery tool, or yeah, I guess interior tools, trim tool, whatever you want to call it. And I slid this under it a little bit and just got it to lift, and then I slowly turned it until it popped. But just be careful with them, especially if you don't have tinted windows. The UV and the UV light from the sun and all that good stuff makes them pretty brittle sometimes. So let's go ahead and get all these clips and everything else back together here, and we can start working on something else. Well guys, we are making some progress on this thing. We've got all the seat belts in and final mounted. If you guys take this panel out, just don't forget, you do have to put this bolt on the outside, like through it. So don't do what I did. I put this on and then ended up having to take this bolt back out so that I could put it on over this. But I got all the seat belts on. All of them are working good now. We got the rear door panel, or the rear quarter panel covers, whatever you want to call those things, on. The headrest is in. The rear kick panel up there is in with the new speakers. All that stuff is in. We've still got to do the front door panels. There's something wonky with this window from what the guy was telling me. It doesn't like to go up once it comes down, so I got to take all that apart and try to figure that out at some point. But right now I'm trying to finish up the stereo stuff, but I'll probably do that in a different video. We're going to take this one out. I got a set of component speakers for it, so we're going to take this out, put a new one in there, and then I don't know if you guys can see yet, but up in there, let's see, I don't know if you can see it right in there, there's a little tweeter that comes factory on these cars. So we're going to go ahead and try to replace those guys, but like I said, we'll do that in a separate video. But let's go ahead and start working on these seats. We still got to stitch these guys up and then get the seats in, and the interior will be for the most part complete. So like I mentioned to you guys, the door panel was already out of this car when I got it, both of them. But I've taken them off numerous times, include on the red car multiple times. So you'd have a little plastic cover that goes here. You can just pop that out with a little screwdriver or a pick or something like that, and then you get the screw out of there. And then what I do next is right here you have the lock. You unlock the car, so the lock would be up here. You've got another one of those little plastic caps you pop out. There is a screw in there, and then once you release that screw, the lock keeper, or whatever you want to call it, the thing that slides right here, will come off, and you'll just have a metal rod here. Then what I do, I come down on the bottom here, and you see that there's a screw hole, and a screw hole. I take those screws out next, and then see if I can get this thing flipped around for you guys. There's one here and one here, and then it slides down right here a little bit. This lip will slide in to lock it in as well, and I believe there's one other clip that it slides down. I believe maybe it's this one here. So let's go ahead and get to the car, and I'll show you guys what we have to do to get to the tweeters. So I've already taken some screws out here so that I can pull this apart and show you as we go. But you're gonna have a screw right here and a screw right down here. You're gonna take those two screws out, and then there's one tucked in there. You're gonna take those screws out, and then this guy will pop out. You just gotta play with it a little bit here, get it over that, and then this whole panel will come out. So once again, guys, there is a screw hole right there, one right there, and then another one down bottom, and then that comes out and it is out of your way. They're just little Phillips head screws like that. Then next, you're gonna have a screw right here which holds this in. A lot of people I hear break these, and you'll see the little plastic's like a half moon there if it's broken. Luckily mine's not yet. But then you take this screw out, and then this panel, it's kind of in there at first, but you just lift and pull back towards the back of the car, and it'll unclip. I slide my hand up and do that down along it, and then this piece will come out. It just sits over that center piece up there. I'll see if I can get a better look at that for you guys, but it just sits over that with these plastic clips. You're definitely gonna feel like you're gonna break it. I know I did, but it does come out with a little bit of pressure. So let me go ahead and show you guys on the other side, same type of deal. I don't know if you guys can see that. A little dusty in here, but there's that middle piece right there, and that stays with the car. That doesn't come off with the panel. I honestly thought that I broke it when I took it out because they both came out in separate pieces. I thought it was one big piece, but it wasn't. So then on this side, you got the same type of deal. Screw here, screw down here, and then a screw in there. Pretty simple. You just do the same thing, pull that one out of the way, and then the same deal. Screw right here, and then this, lift up and pull back, and it'll unclip, and this one comes out, and then there's a better look possibly at that centerpiece. But then we can get to our tweeters right here. Looks like they have a mounting screw and possibly a plug right there. So let's go ahead and grab the tools and see what we have to do to get those out. Alright guys, now that we can get in there at that tweeter right there, you can see that there is a bracket that's holding it. I don't know if you guys can see too well, but there's a little screw right there. See if I can fit my other hand in there. This screw right here. Gotta take that screw the rest of the way out. And then this should slide over to the side. Yep, slide over to the side and out. Then you got your tweeter. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can cut the wire back here and splice your new one in. Or what I'm debating on doing is maybe cutting the wire here so that we can keep this plug so that for whatever reason, if the tweeter ever has to come out again or anything like that. But let's get the new package open and see which way we think will work better for us. Alright guys, so as you've seen, we got both tweeters out. Now we're gonna move on to the woofer down here. Got that last screw out of there. Speaker should just fall right out. Let's go ahead and take these old speakers over to the bench with the tweeters and see how they compare to the new ones. So let's go ahead and open up these new Alpines and see what we've got here. We know that they are 80 watts RMS, 240 peak. They're 6.5s, which is supposed to be what these are. 2-way speaker system, component speakers. Like I said, the S-S65C Alpines. I didn't want anything super crazy, but they're supposed to be a decent speaker. So let's go ahead and open them up. They are for 4 ohm speakers, so if you're using your stock head unit, they might be actually quieter than what was in yours factory because of the 2 ohm versus 4 ohm. But we're going to be putting a nice aftermarket head unit in this thing as well. Haven't exactly decided 100% which one we are going to use yet though. Alright, let's see what we've got. Got some instructions or something there. One new speaker. Second new speaker. We've got these guys here. Says 1 ohm, 3.9 UF. Not sure if that's a frequency thing. And then 10 watts. So at 10 watts, I've got to guess that those go to the tweeters. So the tweeters come and these little mounting cap things they aim to, which is kind of neat. I don't think we're going to need any of that. I might actually see if I can pop them out of this so that we can mount just the tweeter and try to do it kind of like the factory is, but we'll have to see. I'm going to see what kind of bracketry and all that stuff it comes with once we get these things fully opened up here. I'm hoping that we can just mount the speaker itself right to that plastic cone thing that they have in there in the door from the factory to keep it away from the window a little bit better. So that'd be kind of nice. It's definitely an all-around nicer speaker. I don't want to press on it too much, but it's just made out of a lot better material. You can tell here, this one's like a fiber paper, like brittle almost, very soft and brittle. So those things are tired. They're 15 plus years old now. This one, it's just nice rubber and whatever other material they use on it, and it seems like it should be a decent all-around speaker. You've got the power in and out for the speaker. You've got the 2 tabs, different sized, and then you've got 2 outer ones on the same tabs, 2 outer ones on an angle. And as far as I can tell, you're supposed to run the door wires, or wherever you're putting these, you're supposed to run the power and ground to these, and then these outer side ones are supposed to plug into your crossovers. And then, so you plug these into here and you run these to your tweeter so it can piggyback off of this. But I'm going to take another look at the GTO wiring. I think that we're going to be able to plug these in by themselves in the door, and then just add this into the wiring harness up top for the tweeter, like where they plugged in, add this in line, and then plug this into the tweeter and into the stock harness, and hopefully that should work for us. So let's go ahead and finish opening this stuff up, and we will go take a look at the wiring on the car and go from there. Well guys, I decided against using that black adapter ring that the speakers come with. What I decided that we're going to try instead is taking the plastic cone that they use from the factory to mount the speaker in the door, because it gives you a good amount more depth, and it's got the shield on the back here. And the reason I decided not to use the black mounting ring that the speaker comes with on top of this is because it's going to give us another 1/2 inch or more, and I'm afraid that we're not going to have the room. Plus, I think it might be more work to do that than just to modify this. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to take this guy off, and we'll take a Dremel or reamer or something and take this edge down a little bit, all the way around, so that the speaker can sit flush inside it. And then if we have to, we'll Dremel a little bit of this part out here. Let me see if I can show you a little better. There you go. Dremel some of this out here so that we have more room for the magnet and everything to fit right in there. And I like that because then I can tuck the wires up in here, won't have to worry about the window hitting it, and it's just a factory location, so I like it a little better. Alright guys, so before we go to work on the plastic panel like I was talking about, I think what we're going to do is take a look at these tweeters, because I'm going to have to mount them a certain way here, and after looking at them, I think some sort of epoxy is going to be our best bet. How we need to mount them: I take the caps off, take the little speaker itself out, and then we're going to take our factory tweeter that we have here apart real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount this guy just like that. Let's go ahead and put some epoxy on this. Not going to need all that much. Kind of like that. And then I like to use these little guys a lot. They're super handy. I have big ones, small ones. tiny little ones like this. And I'm just gonna give it a little if I can get my fingers out of the way here. Then you don't need to go crazy, obviously. But now our speaker, when it sits in there, it'll sit just like that. I'm gonna go put this inside where it's warm by the fire for now, like up on a shelf out of the way on some plastic or something, and we're gonna let this harden, and we will find something else we can work on. Alright guys, so like I said, we're not gonna use the black mounting ring. We're gonna just go ahead and modify this to make our speaker fit properly. So I will show you what we are working with. This is the Alpine speaker that we're going to use. Now we need to make it fit inside here, and it is pretty close. I'm going to try to mark right here with a Sharpie where the magnet's hitting the cone here. I'm going to mark it probably down here, here, and then up in here and here, and then we'll go ahead and use a reamer or something to trim that out. And then we're also going to trim the main hole, the main opening, up a little bit more so that we can mount it a little more flush. What I'm going to use to ream it out, just some reamers that I got from Harbor Freight, actually the Chief brand. I bought these back when we ported the throttle body for the red GTO. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use these guys. It is gonna fling quite a bit of plastic, but it does work quite well. I'm probably gonna throw you guys in time lapse for this because it does take a little bit of time to get it how you want it. So let's go ahead and do that.
I've been on the road, I've been doing shows. Now we eating steak, remember sleeping on the floor. We stillin' at the gas station when the time was cold. In the kitchen, hot, still tryna flip it out the stove. Rockin' fake J's, praying that nobody know. Watch them take my dog away, it was way too hard to stay composed. Fight to see the light of day, all this blood on my clothes. I was tired every day, green light, it's time to go. I don't wanna live life fast or die too young. Die too young. 100 miles per hour, might crash cause the good die young. Yeah, the good die young. Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Write my name in the stone. Cause I'm coming back home. Cause I'm coming back home. Right back where I left because I know my people needed me. Diamond in the rough, I don't know what it is they see in me. Go down as a legend in my city cause we beat the streets. Trying to spread the wealth around the...
Now I'm gonna do it by hand here. I'm just gonna snug them up by hand. Worked good for me. So now we got this thing mounted. Nice flush seal all the way around with our foam nice and squeezed in between. All the way around this thing. We're going to have a nice rattle-free speaker here. Now you can do the same thing on the other side. Basically the same exact process. The only thing left that we have to take care of here is we just got to cut these little the heads that stick out off. And what I'm going to use to do that is I'm just going to use my little Dremel with a cutoff wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then I'll get back with you guys and we'll get this thing installed. Alright guys, so in our case, the wire with the black stripe is going to be our ground. So we're going to cut this back here, cut them both. We can put that out of the way for a minute until we are ready to work with our tweeters. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these two wires. Now you could solder this, use solder and heat shrink, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use the heat shrink butt connectors. And for the door speakers, I am going to put some shrink wrap over the connectors, just cause really. So now we've got our power and ground spliced on this end. These will plug directly into our speaker. So now we're going to take these things over to the car, and we will do basically the same thing. Cut the old plug off for the old speakers, splice these in, and then we can heat shrink all this stuff. Alright, so let's head on over there. Alright guys, so going off my wiring for my vehicle, I've got positive here and ground here. Something's a little weird with the wiring on this car. My wires for the tweeter are supposed to be the same, but it's actually matching the door over there. Having a few other little weird wiring things going on. As you guys know, I just got this car, so I don't know who's been in here, but something's just not seeming right to me. So I'm just going off my best ability here to tell what's what, as the car's still apart, so I can't really turn the radio on to check. But this one here at the plug is positive, at the speaker for sure. This is ground. So these ones I know, and then the tweeter, that one's weird, but I'll show you guys that when we get to it. So right now, we're just gonna go ahead and cut this plug off right here. Alright guys, so we've got this all shrink wrapped now. We got our wires ran. We're going to go ahead and plug in for our speakers now. In my case, the big one is positive. That's positive. And then we've got a negative, which is the smaller one. Those are both plugged in. Now we can set this guy up here. And since we used that stock cone, the plastic cone that we had to trim, that gave us plenty of room, plenty of depth for the speaker itself to mount in there. All right, so now we've got that mounted in there. I'm just gonna reach in here, double check that all my connections are nice and away from the metal. Which they feel like they are. And I'm just gonna take that extra wire that I spliced in there, and I'm just gonna zip tie it to another wire right here. And we are all done with this one, guys. So let's go ahead and jump onto the tweeters. Alright guys, so now all we gotta do, since we spliced that all up and we ended up putting the factory end on our harness here, all we gotta do is plug this guy in. Sorry, not enough hands here, guys. There we go, plugged in. And what I'm gonna do is just feed this down a ways. Feed the crossover in there. All of our extra wire in there. So now all we have to do is go grab the tweeter, plug it in here, put the screw in, and we can put these panels back on. Well guys, that a two-part epoxy is sealed pretty good, or hardened pretty good I should say, and it's on there good enough, at least good enough to mount. So we're gonna go ahead and plug this guy in and then get her mounted up. It's not the best angle, guys, but it's gonna have to work for now. So we've got our ground to ground. Now you guys can't see up here, but there's really nowhere for me to put the camera. It's so close to the dash. So we got that in. Show you guys that real quick. We got our tweeter up in there on our little mount. We got our wire ran down. We just got to tuck some of that away still. I got to go ahead and put that screw in quick, and I'll show you guys when we're done. Alright guys, so we've got our door speakers in. Our tweeters are in. We got the wire ran down, and I've got it all tucked up nicely in there. Now all we got to do is put the top panel back on and the side panels back on, and we are pretty much done with this one. So let's go ahead and throw those panels on. Got the panel set up in there. I don't know if you guys can hear that or see it, but it is locked back in. So we're just gonna go over to the other side. Got our panel here. There it goes. Alright, so we've got those panels back on now. You can still see our tweeter up in there. So now all we got to do is reverse what we did to take it apart. Put a screw back in here. 2 screws back in here on each side, and then we are done. Alright guys, so we've got the panels back on. All the panels are back on for the tweeters. The tweeters are in there. We got all our screws in. We got our lower woofers in on both doors. Like I said before, I'm not going to put this panel back on yet, just because I have to fix some stuff with that window, I guess. The previous owner told me, I think I told you guys, but something's messed up with it going up and down. But I showed you guys at the beginning of the video where all the screws and things like that are to get that door panel off, and just repeat the process to put it back on. But I think that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video, guys. We're just taking one step at a time with this car. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. We've got a lot of stuff going on with this car. This was a little bit of a slower video, but I figured I'd make it nonetheless. I had to do it, so I made it. We're going to be starting on some of the good stuff here pretty soon though. We're going to be getting ready to pull the engine and trans out of the red car. We're going to put the drive shaft, the axles, all that stuff for this car together. We're going to get all the good stuff onto this car from that car and get this thing back on the road. So make sure to stay tuned, guys, and we will catch you on the next one.